why is dating more complicated now than ever before?
I think a few things have happened. It's like a big sociological shift. First of all, women have achieved equality with men, which is a great thing. Women don't have to, like my mom, get out of high school, marry a man, take care of the house. That's not the world that we're growing up in. So because women don't need men to take care of them, they've become more college educated, financially independent. Women now make more than their husbands in 40% of households. So we have a society of equals. But with that, it means that women don't need to settle for lower relationships. They don't need to just be with a guy to protect and provide for them. So their standards for what they're looking for have gone up. And combine that with the internet, dating apps, texting, where everybody thinks they have infinite numbers of options.
Right.
And that largely explains why dating is so frustrating, is everybody's looking to do better and better and better instead of just, I live in my small town, I'm gonna date the local guy that I met in my senior year of high school. Everybody's building their career. And my clients usually turn to me when they're in their mid 30s, late 30s and say, oh, this isn't the way my life was supposed to turn out. I forgot to fall in love. I forgot to have a family. Or I get them after they already made the wrong choice and they're starting over in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. And so people usually don't call me until they've reached a sense of urgency about making better decisions with men.
Right. Right. That's very, very interesting. Now, what is coming up to my mind is considering that that's the issue, that women are more educated, more independent, more financially independent, can make more informed decisions for themselves and their future. Is that modifying or informing the behavior of men? Are men doing something about it and getting better in this area of love and relationships? Or that is not changing the way men are seeing it? Because if women are not settling now, it means that they were settling before, which means that the guys before weren't as prepared. So have you
Right.
seen something like that?
This is a really interesting issue, and I don't think I could, encapsulate it in a
Okay.
glib answer, but we could say in general that the things that if we're using stereotypes, right, the things in general that it takes to succeed at work have been traditionally seen and coded as masculine.
Right.
Work hard and be tough, and right, it's not, work is not known as a nurturing place. So if women, feminine energy has always been more nurturing, women have become more masculine to thrive in that world, right? And simultaneously, there's a whole generation of men, certainly men over the age of 50, like I am, who still remember the old world, and they haven't become necessarily more feminine. So women and men have become more similar to each other than ever before. Younger generations of men now are less traditionally masculine. They are more sensitive, but women sometimes miss traditional masculinity. Where's the guy who's going to take the lead and call and plan and pay?
Right.
So we want kind of everything. We want our men to be strong but sensitive, and we want them to work hard and make a lot of money but be home at 5.
Right.
And so now the standards for what we come to expect from men are higher than they've ever been before.
Right.
Again, rightfully so. I think women have settled on unhappy relationships for too many years, but now we're at the point where, like, well, I need a man who's a vegan. I need a man who's spiritual but not religious. I need a guy who likes skiing as much as I do. And now we're doing something that is running against our best self-interests instead of for our self-interests.
Okay. So what I'm hearing to my long question and
I
complicated,
give a longer answer, don't worry.
it's that men are kind of trying to step up to the plate, but it's kind of not working that much because it's a confusion. It's like a grayish area where they don't know when to be feminine, when to be masculine, and there is kind of a general overall confusion where that is where the complication comes along.
I think the script has been muddied, if not entirely thrown out.
Oh my goodness, Evan, I love that. Can you say more about that? I
Well,
never thought of that.
it's imagine, and again, these are most of my clients. Or imagine you're a woman who makes $150,000, and your version of things is, I need a man who's my equal. That
Right,
means, and that, by the way, that doesn't mean equal. That means better, right? He has to be taller than I am. He has to be smarter than I am. He has to be funnier than I am. He has to be richer than I am. Well, if you're in the 95th percentile of all people, we've got a very small number of people who you're going to deem better than you.
right,
On top of that, you're going to discover that a lot of those men who are more impressive don't necessarily want to date the female version of themselves. They
right.
don't want the lawyer who's working 60 hours a week. They want the first grade teacher. Whether that's good or bad or fair or unfair, it doesn't really matter. So a
Yeah,
lot of men don't want to date the female version of themselves. And it's not because they're intimidated by you. That's their right. Right.
right,
So they don't necessarily want to date the female version of themselves. And then add on top of that, when two people who are hypothetically really bright, really driven, really busy get together, what happens? We got a lot of friction, a lot of ego, ideas, opinions, ambition. Who's the easygoing one? Who's the person who says
right.
yes? Right. So there's many problems with, and again, these are my clients, smart, strong, successful women. There's no judgment, right? There's only the observation that there isn't a happy Mrs. Elon Musk. There's no such thing.
Right, right. No, it's great that you're saying this in such an articulated way. It's so clear. I never heard it this clear. It's hitting me. So, what is the solution? What these women should do in this paradox of being so high up that the options are not many, and out of those sorry, out of those few, they are not looking for a female version of themselves. So what are these women supposed to do if they want to get married and have a family and leave legacy and all these things that we care for?
Well, all of the stuff that, we're talking about, I mean, we can say that it's just a theory, but got 20 years of experience living this and coaching this. And I had to pivot, right? I mean, I'm like my clients, right? I was busy dating the lawyer who traveled around the world and had a full passport and would give me cool books to read and music to listen to. And those women would always say, Evan, I love you, but you have to change this and this and this and this, right? Very bright, very critical. And they weren't always my emotional partner. They couldn't always meet me where I needed to be. And I thought, this is what I want. This is what I'm attracted to. This is what I deserve. And I went with 300 people. Right? And it wasn't until I kept on banging my head against that wall that I realized, oh, there's nothing wrong with women. There's nothing wrong with me. I need to choose a different type of woman who's actually a better fit for my life. So basically what I tell women to do in my Love You course is date like men do. I'm a male dating coach for women. I tell women to date like men do. You're the CEO. He's the intern.
Right.
There's lots of interns. There's always going to be another guy coming along.
Right.
Don't just hire a guy based on his resume or how he looks in a suit. How does he show up? Does he come in early? Does he stay late? Does he want the job? How do you feel about yourself when he's in the office?
Right.
So this is actually the way men date, because men don't date for credentials. So men are not saying, I need taller and smarter and richer and funnier. Men are like, she's nice. She looks good. She seems to like me. Men are actually a lot simpler. So I'm actually telling women, hey, the one thing you don't need, believe it or not, is a man to take care of you financially. We could take that off the table.
Right.
A guy who's making a couple $100,000 a year doesn't need a woman who makes $201,000 a year. He could date someone who's a high school English teacher who makes $55,000 and has her summers off and is home at 4.
Right.
That could work. Right. And so I'm not saying that you have to, because women hear this and they bristle. I'm not telling you have to date a high school English teacher. That's not the message. Right. The message is that there are more men out there than you're paying attention to. So the biggest problem we have is that we go on the apps, we go on the dating sites, and we narrow what we're looking for when we should actually be expanding what we're looking for.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So you mean by the characteristics that they are looking for, they narrow their pool of dating, and how do you suggest they amplify that, they make it bigger?
Well, the
With
problem with the
so much-
characteristics, Natalia, the characteristics we're looking for that matter don't show up on dating apps.
Right. You are so right.
Character,
Yes.
kindness, consistency,
Right.
communication, commitment. You can't see that on Tinder.
Right.
So those are the only things that's going to make you happy in the long run. So
Right.
everybody goes online, they say, I'm looking for a guy of high character, but no one's really, you're looking for the cutest, tallest, richest guy. And I understand it and I don't judge it. It's what people do. But that's only led you here to this conversation.
Right.
So I share very freely. I'm a huge online dating advocate. I didn't meet my wife online because I was 34. I wasn't looking for a 37-year-old to have 2 kids with. Right? She's 16 years of Catholic school. Wasn't looking for a Jewish guy. This is the whole point. We were both online at the same time.
Right.
We set our criteria too narrow.
Yes. Yes. And we don't realize that. I remember when I was doing I went on 200 first dates in 2 years.
Wow.
And then I met my husband after that, but I didn't meet him online. But I remember, realizing how narrow my dating pool was at the beginning. That was one of the things that I amplified, mostly regarding to race. And this, I don't want to sound racist, but I was kind of new in the country. I am Latina. So I had a very, I grew up in a small town of Italians, and that's what I knew, and that's what I knew. I didn't know any better, So, and when I moved to the States, I realized how narrow I was. I felt so embarrassed, and I opened it up, and it was an amazing experience to get to know different people, and they were all wonderful. I had an amazing experience. But that's really, really good. So the solution for this successful, like smart, driven woman is to open up the options, make the dating pool bigger, and also
not immensely bigger, because people sometimes hear this and end up misrepresenting it.
Right.
If you go online and you see a guy who's 30 years older than you and has a long white beard and no teeth, I'm not telling you to date him. And people think that I'm saying, I'm not telling you to date anybody that's unattractive. I'm not telling you to date anybody that's stupid. I'm just telling you that all the guys you've been attracted to haven't always been good guys.
Right.
And B, if you met a guy in real life and you've done this before, there's plenty of them that are great guys that you wouldn't have chosen online, the same way I wouldn't have chosen my wife online. Right? We know that to be true. So we have to at least allow the opportunity for it. So I say that, let's say 90% of men are not for you. That gives you high standards. You could reject 90% of men.
Right.
That means you have to be open to 10% of men. If you're open to 10% of men, you should be able to get 1 date a week. If you go on 1 date a week, you should be able to find love in the 6 months that you're in love you. Like, it's math. The problem is people go online and be like, Evan, I'm sorry, there's no one in Los Angeles for me. Wait, you've used up Los Angeles? You've used up all the men in Los Angeles? This city's terrible. Right? And so we're trying to create a system to allow people to be the CEO of their own love life.
Right.
Bring in lots of interns, pay attention to how you feel, not just the resume, which matters, but not as much as you think. And if you go out with a guy you really like, you're not going to care that he's an inch shorter than you thought or makes less money. Those things go out the window. Absolutely.
So, okay. So I have another question for you, changing gears a little bit. I think it's a fun question. What is the downside of dating a man who is brilliant, wealthy, and handsome? I'm dying to hear that.
I've got a question for you. You said you went on 200 dates.
Right.
Okay. That's pretty impressive. Did you meet any in those 200 dates who did not become your husband? Did you meet any wealthy, handsome, intelligent men?
I did.
Okay. So you could probably tell me, I will tell you, but you could probably tell me the answer to that question because it's not that hard to arrive at. Think of a guy who is wealthy. He didn't become wealthy just by sitting at home. No. He likes to work a lot. He might have to travel for work. He might put work first. He might put you second or third or fourth, right? He might be very bossy. That's how he became the boss at work. He thinks his opinion is the only opinion that matters, and he dismisses your opinion. He is a leader, which means he needs you to be a follower. He doesn't want to talk to someone who's going to talk back to him and have her own opinions. He might not be as sensitive as you would expect from a guy because he is the sun and you are a planet revolving around the sun. That's the way those leaders tend to work. That's one example. Should we do handsome? But you understand? Good qualities come with bad qualities.
Yes.
If he's really brilliant, he might be really in his head. He might be socially awkward. He might have anxiety issues. He might speak before he thinks. He might be arrogant and look down on other people who aren't as smart as he is. He might look down on you, right?
Absolutely.
And so there's lots of really smart guys and they're like exhausting.
I know.
So people think they're going to get just the good. I'm going to get the brilliant guy who's so fascinating to listen to, but he's not going to be a dick to me. Oh, I'm going to get a wealthy guy. We're going to lead this wonderful life, but I only get to see him, one day a week.
Right.
Oh, he's going to be so gorgeous. I'm going to be able to show him off to all my friends. Yeah, but everybody thinks he's gorgeous. He thinks he's gorgeous, and he wants to keep an open relationship.
Right.
Like, you have to factor in that you don't get good qualities without bad qualities.
Right. Yeah, it's the kind of like the shadow effect. And so my question to you, Evan, is what do we do if we want a man that is wealthy, handsome, and what was the other one? Brilliant. So is that possible to make it work without compromising our standards or
I'll flip this around, because even the way that the question is framed is like a gotcha sort of question.
Like a what?
A gotcha sort of question.
Okay.
Imagine a man saying, so Evan, how could I as a man get myself a Top Chef supermodel Rhodes Scholar porn star without compromising my standards? Why can't I have just a woman who's brilliant in the kitchen and amazing in the bedroom and really nurturing, right? Why can't I get all of it?
Right.
Well, A, she doesn't exist. B, if she existed, she wouldn't want you. Right? I mean, that's how I would answer the man who says, how could I get a supermodel Top Chef Rhodes Scholar porn star? She doesn't exist, and if she did, she wouldn't want you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we need to kind of come down to earth a little bit.
Right.
We're not looking for a person who is the composite of every single man I've ever met. But I once dated this really rich guy, and it was so amazing. We could fly business class wherever we went.
Right.
Okay, what was the problem with the relationship? Oh, he was a cheater. All right.
Right.
I just love being with someone who's fascinating, where like every word out of his mouth makes me feel smarter. Okay, you've dated that guy too. What happened with that guy? Oh, he was like autistic. Right. So there's always some form of this.
Right.
You're not trying to get the richest man, smartest. Like, you're not compromising your standards.
No.
No more than you could buy a house that has a view and is close to a good school district and is near the freeway and has 6 bedrooms, but it's only $200,000. Like, it doesn't exist.
Right. Right.
So we have to learn to compromise on the right qualities. What are the right qualities? The things we're talking about right now.
Yes.
You can compromise on dating a guy. Instead of him being 99th percentile intelligent, what if he's 85th percentile intelligent? Would you be okay? Do you have to slow down and use small words for that guy? No, he can keep up with you. It's really fine. If you are in the 99th percentile of wealth, do you need another person who's in the 99th percentile of wealth? No, you don't. My wife is a stay-at-home mom. I take care of business. It works.
Right.
So we have convinced ourselves, and men, honestly, I'm a dating coach for women. Men do not date this way. They really don't. You've never heard a man like even worry about, am I as smart as Steve Jobs? Am I as cute as Channing Tatum? Like, we don't worry about having to be the best in every category. We're
no.
Women, A, want the man who's the best in every category and think there's something wrong if her husband doesn't think she is, looks like a supermodel. And right, there's way too much ego involved in this. Be with someone who makes you happy. Be with someone who gets you, who allows you to let down your guard and be yourself, and you can act naturally and not be anxious all the time. So I ask people, if people are finding my message abrasive, pay attention to your feelings, right? Don't pay attention to his resume. You're not comparing him to other men. All those other men didn't last. How does he make you feel? Listen to that.
Right. That's the biggest North Star. Our feelings won't lead us wrong. I love it. I really, really love how passionate you are about this. It's a joy to hear you talking about this.
But I think the reason I'm passionate about it, it's like someone who's evangelical. I took this advice. Like I live this advice.
Absolutely.
Right? I coach women who are more impressive than my wife. I don't think for a second I'd be happier with them.
Right.
That is really useful to understand. There's always going to be a guy who's cuter than your boyfriend, richer than your boyfriend, smarter than your boyfriend. He's the only one who loved you unconditionally, never wanted to leave you, vowed to make you happy every day.
Right.
That's worth something. It's worth a lot.
Absolutely. Plus, we don't know the other person. We are just projecting whatever is in our mind on them. So these men we really know. And yes, it's like my husband is incredible. I wouldn't change him for anybody.
Yeah, but
I knew that when I saw him, when I met him, after dating 200 guys and not liking any of them. So it's really, do you believe in that when you meet somebody, like it happened to you with your wife maybe, or maybe it's too personal of a question, but
not too personal a question at all. I'm not going to take away anybody's life experience.
Right.
It's like we've been taught that there's one way to fall in love, and it's the movie kind of way, and it's not the case.
Right.
Compare it to getting rich. There's many ways to get rich. You could save $1 a day from when you're a little kid. You could work your way up at your father's company. You could take an internship right out of college. You can start your own company and hang out your own shingle. You could get a master's degree and jump a level in salary. You could save 20% of your salary when you're young, so you're ready to retire. There's lots of ways of making money out there. There's also, I could buy a lottery ticket. That's another way of getting rich. That's very, very appealing, is to buy the lottery ticket. It's just the least successful way of getting rich.
Yes.
Okay. So you'll just know when you meet the right guy is the lottery ticket.
Yes.
And so I'm not going to deny that some people have it, but I will also submit that I don't know about you. I should be careful about asking a question where I don't know the answer. But every time I just knew that I met the right one, she dumped me.
Oh, yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Wow.
No, so, oh my God. And I would ask your listeners, every time you knew you met the one, did it last? If so, you just know when you meet the one is not generally accurate. And when it does last, it becomes a great story, like your story.
Yes.
But that is the exception. The rule is you dive in, you think he's your soulmate, 2 months later, you hate each other.
Right. I love what you said. It's the exception. And I want to be very, very clear that I knew I wanted to get to know him more than the 200 guys that I met on eHarmony. They were a no. I knew it was no. Good. Some of them I went out a couple of more times because they were so good that I'm like, Natalia, just try, and no. And when I met my husband, I saw him and he looked at me, and in that look, I knew.
I'm not going to argue with your experience. I'm saying that when women hear that, they think that's the way that they should be falling in love.
No, it shouldn't.
And I don't
want. Oh my God.
I don't want to reinforce that.
Yes. No, not at all. Not at all. By that time, I was 35 years old. I was divorced, and I had more failed relationships than I am willing to tell you, pretty honest. So, no. it wasn't, but you know, I don't know, that's the way it happened to me anyway.
Mine, I didn't know that I married the right person until 6 months after we were married.
Yes, yes.
No, that's an unusual story.
Oh yeah.
Do you
Okay.
know many people who will admit that they didn't know they married the right person until 6 months after they were married?
No, I haven't heard that before, but
Right.
I can relate.
That's why I'm sharing it as another example of how people could find love. I don't
Yeah.
recommend it. I'm just saying it's possible. Most people's relationships start really, really high,
Right.
right? Because that's chemistry. And then
Mhm.
as they get to know each other, they discover each other's flaws, and then the chemistry wears off and their relationship starts to crash. That's
Right.
most relationships. My
Mhm.
relationship just got better and better and better and better over time. I'm more excited about my wife now than I was when we met. I
Right.
love that about us, right?
I
And I was open to that possibility. But other people would say, oh, you guys are, clearly incompatible because you don't have the, oh my God, you just know you're in love
right.
feeling, right? And so that's
Yeah,
what I'm saying.
there is not
There's not one way to do
there is
this.
not.
And I think it's important to share that if your chemistry is a 7, but your relationship is a 10, you've got an amazing relationship.
Right.
Because most of your life you've had relationships where your chemistry was a 10, but your relationship was a 3.
Right. Right. Oh, it's brilliant what you're saying, and so worth to have this conversation. And a lot of the coaching that I do I coach women only as well. And I tell them that, you know, the chemistry doesn't have to be wow, but it could grow. And the chemistry could be wow, and it can disappear. Of that, I have plenty of examples of guys that the chemistry was off the chart when we met, and it didn't last a week. I mean,
Because chemistry is
yeah,
sufficient to inspire you to explore a relationship. Chemistry alone will not sustain a relationship for 40
right.
years. And so,
No,
I'm not anti-chemistry. I'm anti being blinded by chemistry and thinking that chemistry solves all or love solves all, and love doesn't even solve all. And
right,
that's one of the things that a lot of people have a hard time with too. You could love someone to death. You could have never had a deeper connection. You could really see him as your true soulmate. Also not true, right? And it doesn't mean you're going to be happy.
you
If
can't drop those bombs and just move on.
and it does, but no, but here, let's say all those things are true. That's how intense your connection is.
Right,
But he lives in a different state.
right,
But he's recently separated. But he's an alcoholic.
yeah,
But he doesn't really want to commit.
right,
All of your deep feelings don't matter at all. You're on a dead end. So love is a component in relationships. In the long run, it's the compatibility that keeps people together, and nobody's paying attention to compatibility in that first month of dating. So
uh,
that's what I try to remind people about. Make good decisions in the first month of dating instead of getting on a train that's going to lead you in some direction that you don't want to go.
right. Right. It's so important. Thank you for sharing that. Now, I have a question, something that I see happening to my clients quite a bit, and I would like to hear your experience and expertise on this. Sometimes they meet a guy and they really like the guy and they keep seeing him and whatever, and then after, I don't know, 2 weeks, a month, sometimes even after they have sex for the first time, the guy stops seeing them, and the women, they cannot let go. Like they were dating, let's say, for a month, takes them 3 months to let go of the guy. So do you have any input on that, any thoughts on that, on how can they um, make that window shorter, because it breaks my heart. I mean,
I don't want to ask too many personal questions, but
yeah.
are are these women sleeping with these men before they're in a relationship?
Yeah, some yes and no. Most of them,
Most of them, yes. Most in my experience, most women sleep with men and then hope he becomes a boyfriend. And
yes,
to me, that's getting the order wrong.
right,
Right? You're the CEO.
right,
You don't get to get paid by this company until we decide to hire you. I've only known you for 2 weeks. I'm not ready to hire you yet. The intern has to audition for 4 to 6 weeks to even have a chance. So you're going to have more information
2%.
About a guy after a month or after 2 dates. Because if you, and again, there's no value judgment on having sex early. Like I did it, like there's no slut shaming, there's none of that. It's
Right.
just practical consideration. If you
Right.
sleep with a guy on the 3rd date because it feels good and you want to, and then you're feeling really anxious and you don't know where you're standing, you
Right.
don't know what he's going to call, right? You've already put yourself into the intern position, right? And you have no power. And yeah, now you're going to be attached. Now you're going to keep on sleeping with him and hoping and hoping and
Right.
hoping, instead of, is this guy worthy of sex with me? Is this guy
Right.
worthy of commitment for me? Is this guy worthy of me taking down my profile and focusing on him? Instead of giving him that job right away because you're lonely and you hate dating,
Right.
right?
Right.
Keep that job open until you feel really secure that he might be a winner, not just for now, but 40 years from now. And that requires moving slower.
Right. And the question that is coming to my mind
Sure.
is, sometimes these ladies are afraid, and that's fear, but they are afraid that if they don't sleep with the guy, he will walk away because
And
they
what
have,
does that say?
yes, that the guy was going to walk away anyway.
Right.
Yeah, right.
It's almost airtight and foolproof.
Right.
If you say to a guy on date number 5, when he's got your shirt off and he's reaching for his wallet, oh my God, Brad, I'm so attracted to you. I would love to sleep with you right now. I don't sleep with guys I'm not in a relationship with. And since we've only met 3 times, I'm not really ready for a relationship yet. So let's keep on having fun. And in a few weeks, if what we have is real, you're in for the night of your life. You think some guy's going to be like, all right, I'm out of here. He's going to say, no, she's attracted to me. She's sexual. She has boundaries. She has standards.
Right.
She's not trying to trap me into a relationship. She's not being needy or desperate. So if you could say that in 20 seconds
Right.
and a guy leaves after that, bye.
Right. Thank you. Thank you. That's brilliant. That's brilliant. And one last question, and then I'll let you go. How can I avoid wasting time on the wrong men? We have been navigating a little bit those waters already.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. Wasting time on the wrong men has a lot to do with choosing the wrong men up front.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. It's the decision. I mean, if we use like this, like a compass, if you're trying to drive to a destination and you make the wrong turn, you end up way, way, way ahead of your goal. So if you start dating someone in the first month who's like, I don't know what I'm looking for. I'm just at a really bad place in my life right now. And, I'm just like looking to have fun. And if something happens, great. If you choose to date that guy, don't be too surprised that you never get married, that you never get to your destination, because he told you, I don't know what I'm looking for. I'm in a bad place. I have nothing to give right now. And you're like, okay. So by choosing the right guys and avoiding long distance guys and recently divorced guys and guys who have employment issues or addiction issues and, anger issues, if you just don't sleep with him or call him a boyfriend until you feel really secure,
right,
you're less likely to make it a decision that you're going to be paying for 2 years down the road. And then when you realize after you're dating a guy, hey, sometimes you do make the wrong decision. Sometimes the screening process doesn't work. Then it's incumbent upon you to get rid of him instantly. Not, I dated him for 3 years, but for the last 2, I knew it wasn't right. No, when you know it's not right, when you know he's not your husband, you have to have the courage to let him go.
Right.
That's how people waste decades of their life.
Yes.
I got clients, oh, we were married for 25 years. When did you know things weren't right? I don't know, 3 months into the relationship.
Right. It's heartbreaking. It's hard. Right. I mean, I have done it. I have done it in the past. So.
Right. And so that's what coaching is for, is to give people the clarity to make tough decisions better than you've made those decisions in the past. Right. Because every second you're with the wrong guy is a second you're not actually looking for the right guy.
Right. It's life-saving. I really, really love coaching. Thank you so much. There is anything else you would like to say to the viewers before we finish the interview?
Sure. My name is Evan Marc Katz. I'm a dating coach for smart, successful women. I am everywhere on the internet. I've got a podcast called the Love You Podcast. I've got a YouTube channel and an Instagram channel and a TikTok channel, a Facebook page, and all those kind of things. So wherever you like to get information, I give a ton of free information away. If you find it intriguing, go to my website, go to evanmarckatz.com. Give me your email address, take a short quiz. I'll send you free dating and relationship advice. And if you're really serious about getting results in your love life, you don't want just the entertainment of listening to podcasts and reading books, but you actually want results, feel free to apply to Love You, which is my 6-month course that helps women understand men and find love. And finally, not about me, not self-promotional, just one last thing that I like to share with everybody. Good relationships are easy. If your relationship isn't easy, it's not that good. And you should raise your standards for what you come to expect from men. Choose easy more than anything.
Oh, love it. Love it. I wish you should post that every day on Instagram.
Thank you.
Every day, what the same video. Thank you so much.